Hey guys, and welcome back to Sonic Adventure 2. In this part, we are starting the last story, which this is a tradition that started in Adventure 1 and would go on to, for fucking ever. So, yeah, prepare for, 10 minutes of cutscenes and then, a 20-minute long level. So, yeah.
To be fair, I really kind of like the separate character stories followed by a unifying last story idea. It just seems like a good way to have multiple playable characters with their own story focuses going on, and still have a cohesive plot that ties up in a singular location. The problem with it is that in a lot of cases the actual execution and how the stories tie together is hideously flawed.
Just like in Shout the Hedgehog.
Almost every Sonic last story has about, 15 minutes of exposition before you do, a final level type thing and then end the game. Which is just sloppy storytelling in all of
Every last story ends up with the heroes teaming up with Eggman. Pretty much. That's always a common theme in the last stories for these games.
Not so much in Adventure 1 because Eggman just sort of got beaten up
I made
by
this
chaos,
exact
but...
copy of the egg carrier to fight you in case something happened. Okay.
That's not exactly a team up though. Eggman lasted about 2 seconds. And he was just going after Chaos, wasn't really working with them. But, I would really dig it. I would really dig it if another game series that, had a better grasp on storytelling tried to use a storytelling structure sort of like the adventure games. I know it's blasphemy to suggest this, but suppose, maybe as a spin-off game, we had a Zelda game that was where your main mode was still Link, but you also had a separate story mode for, say, Zelda, one for Impa, one for, I don't know, who's another significant character? One for Ganondorf, maybe.
Tingle story.
Ganondorf.
Tingle.
Tingle story. Yeah, he's the guy who fishes.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I know that this is an incredibly niche game, but Trauma Team, the third console Trauma Center game, its structure is point for point Sonic Adventure 1. You've got 6 main stories, and they all combine into a last story at the very end. It is the exact same structure.
That is nice. How does it work? They misspelled Robotnik as Robotnik.
It's almost the exact same thing where the first half of the story with all of the different characters, each one has their own story with their own gameplay, and then you get the last story where you have a bunch of levels where each person has their own level with their own gameplay, and there's a story thing that brings it all together. But that's the only other game I can think of that tries something like this. And you'd think with a series that has a lot of different characters, and there's a lot of video game series like that, it would be something to try. Because again, Sonic plot has never been the strong point, and there are great moments in lots of the game's plot, but as a whole, the Sonic plots are not really known for being great. So yeah. Here, this is just straight up exposition. Why is Gerald Robotnik evil? Let me just tell you. And
this is such an incredible shift in tone.
Yeah.
Destroy Maria. It's a conspiracy.
The shift in tone comes more from the subject matter than things actually getting serious, because let's be fair, even the classic Sonic games had their extremely serious turns toward the end. But here it's okay, we're going into military conspiracies and, wholesale slaughter. If it's off screen.
Yeah, you know what?
We just saw an old man talk about how his daughter was killed, and he died via firing squad.
John, to be fair though, it's not really that different from in Sonic Adventure 1, where in the last story, Sonic and Knuckles get that flashback where you see all the echidnas get, well, you don't see, but it's heavily implied that all the echidnas are wiped out by perfect chaos.
And Ted, I hated that there too.
Actually, Mr. Johnny, to correct you, Maria is actually Gerald's granddaughter.
But it doesn't.
I am going to say it's it's a little more jarring in the sense that, okay, an ancient tribe of natives who used to live on what became a magical floating island being eradicated by a giant water demon. Well, yeah, it's dark, but it's also fanciful. A scientist being betrayed by his government and put to death via firing squad. It's kind of harder to separate reality from fiction in that kind of down-to-earth scenario.
In a
down
Sonic
to earth
game.
In space.
In a Sonic game.
Yeah, and you put that kind of attitude into a Sonic game. It's like it would be it's like the equivalent of if Metal Gear Solid introduced a lovable mascot character.
Right.
Wait. Oh, hang on. There was that little Metal Gear thing in Metal Gear Solid 4, but forget about that.
It's weird though, because I do appreciate that they did try to develop the villain, but I think, and there are slight hints at foreshadowing about Gerald and all that, but I think that they needed more. I think we needed more about Gerald and about Maria, other than the very brief flashbacks we get, in order to really have this hit home.
My issues with this is, one, why is the Master Emerald not the size of a Chaos Emerald? And two, I hate how Shadow the Hedgehog completely craps on Gerald's character.
Yeah, well,
Gerald, for all intents and purposes, he is evil, but you understand why he's done it.
He might have been a good man once, but not anymore, and that's what's important.
Well, here's the thing.
I think is what it is.
When we see Gerald in Sonic Adventure 2 on the video screen, it is after Maria is dead and he's about to be executed. When we see Gerald on the video screen in Shadow the Hedgehog, Maria makes an appearance, so that was recorded while she was still alive.
It undermines the presence as a villain in this past game, though, because you can kind of guess that he might have been okay once, but that's not what you're seeing, which makes it more
you don't just guess. He point blank says he was making the ultimate life form to benefit mankind. I am not saying Shadow the Hedgehog is a good story by any stretch, but Gerald Robotnik's character in it is not the problem, or even a significant problem there. I'm not going to I completely disagree that anything in Shadow the Hedgehog disagrees with what's in here.
And no, it doesn't. Goes. It's just I feel like some of the retcons they make slightly undermine the impact that the story has, and it's not.
I don't think so.
Let's put it. One of the ending, to go back to what you brought up, the Gerald Robotnik call at the end of Shadow the Hedgehog. It's, and the whole let's celebrate in honor of Gerald Robotnik's past research. It completely.
Oh, well, that was stupid, but Gunn was just stupid in Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it undermines everything he did in SA2, because let's face it, Gunn was a dick for what they did to Robotnik, and dick is like the lightest word I can use there. But he still programmed the Ark to fall on Earth. Yeah,
he still programmed the Ark to fall on Earth after they betrayed him, after he set all this up to save them. So
it's just I think that it's not supposed. I don't think that he should have been portrayed as a saint, because whether or not he was trying to build the ultimate life form to benefit mankind, if we take Shadow the Hedgehog completely out of the picture, he still built a gigantic cannon that can blow up the planet. And I don't care, what other research he is doing. That's sketchy as fuck.
I think one of the problems here is that Shadow the Hedgehog was such a simplistically told and badly told story that it paints Gerald's actions prior to his execution as redeeming him for the stuff he did leading up to it. Whereas, I think he's a person who, at one point, was really damn good and set up a lot of stuff that was designed to protect the Earth from a threat that, had he not intervened, would have destroyed everyone. But in between him setting all that up and the execution, other shit happened that pushed him over the edge and turned him completely fucking batshit insane.
And he teamed up with a bunch of evil aliens. Fuck that guy.
I agree with you, Lewis. It's just, he should have been portrayed as a deeply flawed man instead of as a as a saint.
Well, you know. well, you know. Well, you know.
I take the blame for starting this, but you're in a geeky portion of the internet when you got 5 people arguing over the
Hey, this is shit.
canon status.
This is shit they could have used to make a somewhat interesting story.
No, there's so much potential in all of this, which is part of why it's.
Yeah, but I get it. But the second question I ask is, there's so much potential using this. Okay, does it belong in a Sonic game? You know, that's the other question I ask.
Here's the thing. Okay, there are cases where incredibly dark twists and cartoonish type games of this general nature have to an extent worked. But here's the thing, okay? The concept by itself is not enough. It has to be fleshed out. And Gerald Robotnik, in both games, whether it's both games together or either of the games individually, was not fleshed out enough to work in this sort of game tone.
John, I'm going to argue with you that just because it's a Sonic game doesn't mean that it doesn't need a story or that it shouldn't be here.
No. I'm not saying a Sonic game should not have a story.
There's a certain kind of story that doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
I don't.
And
would you buy a Call of Duty narrative with Mario characters?
Yeah, the thing is, everyone would buy that, but that's for completely different reasons. But
okay, bad example.
Can I just spell out my point in a real short sentence? Okay, to make this kind of tonal dissonance work, you need to do a lot of stuff, and Sonic Adventure 2 just does not do enough to make it work.
It does. I appreciate them trying, though. Is the thing.
I appreciate them trying, but I also appreciate them fucking up.
And it honestly, it had to have worked enough to the point where it got people invested in these characters.
Oh yeah,
though,
because really, the characters and the concept on their own are quite interesting. I mean, well, Shadow the Hedgehog, when you get right down to it, is a pretty trope-heavy character, but ignoring that shortfall, the overall series of events is interesting. But I could also say the same thing about Final Fantasy 13, to bring up a much more extreme case of a place where a good concept was used, but bad storytelling fucked it over. I'm not saying Adventure 2 is nearly that bad.
I think individually you can look at some ideas and they're interesting, but putting them together the way they did in SA2, it didn't age well, and I think it has way too many fucking problems.
Well, since we're obviously just not going to agree about this, why don't we talk about something we can agree in, that Cannon's Core is goddamn hard. Damn. I like this level in concept because I like the idea of all the heroes and villains working together, and it being one long-ass level where you use everybody's skills. And for what it's worth, I do think that this is probably the best end-of-game level like this, because Shadow's level sucks. We don't have to say anything about the end of the world in Sonic 06. But, it's just... It goes on for really long, and it's hard.
Actually, I'm going to say it doesn't go on that long on its own, but the first time you do this shit,
it's going to take you a half hour.
It's going to take you a really fucking long time.
Especially, well, here's the thing. Eggman and Tails' sections are very difficult, and Rouge's and Knuckles' sections it's hard to figure out what you're supposed to do. So,
God forbid you do what I did and get here without Knuckles' breathing.
God! Mike.
It's almost. I don't care what Ted said. It is fucking impossible to do that about the breathing thing.
They have.
I did it. I just died a lot in the process.
Yeah.
No, you didn't, Lewis. You were drunk.
No, it's possible. They've got plenty of bubbles. It's really frustrating.
SA2 was the first game I ever had to stop and look up a guide to see how the hell do I beat this level, because my first time, exactly like Lewis and exactly like Gareth, I didn't have the air necklace for Cannon's Core. So when I looked at the guide and said, you should have the air necklace, so it's no problem, it's like, what fucking air necklace? What are you talking about? And then I exit the level, I go to Aquatic Mine and I get that fucking thing, and I just Jesus Christ.
The thing is the underwater sections as Knuckles give you basically no room for air, and when stuff like that happens, you drown.
Yeah, it's the time stoppy thingama, whatever the fuck it is. Actually, thinking about, we were talking about stuff that the lore could that the time stoppy thing could probably be tied in with chaos control research. So okay, but yeah, it's just there are a lot of points. We'll see it later. I'm actually fucking up right here. This is probably what cost me.
Yeah, you're going to Rouge's area.
Yeah, this is what cost me the A rank in Cannon's Core, for the record. With Knuckles, what you're supposed to do is get the time stopper at the very top of the underwater section, then go up and do some stuff above the water. But it's just I completely forgot what I was going to say. I am complete. I blanked. I'm sorry. I'm working on like no sleep. But
I just mind wiped Ted.
have any of you ever beaten the hard mode version of this level? Because I've never even seen it, and I don't.
Dude, I've never even tried.
Because I like the hard mode levels in Sonic Adventure 2. Last night I went back and I played some of the extra missions just to brush up, and like the hard mode levels are drastically different. Like I'd say probably it's the best designed hard mode I've seen in a game in a long time, because it's not just making like the enemies having more health or whatever. It changes the level geometry in such a way that like it adds enemies in an interesting. It's feels like the same level, but it also doesn't, and I like it. So yeah.
They tried something very similar to that in Sonic 06. The difference there, of course, being that the gameplay sucked. But
also, isn't the hard mode also DLC in Sonic 06?
Yeah, the very hard mission.
The very hard mode is DLC, but there is a hard mode in the packaged game. So yeah.
Yeah, but the difference between hard mode and normal mode in Sonic 06 was that in hard mode they decided to just maybe add 1 or 2 more spike balls here in the middle of the road. Very hard changes level design entirely, or they have you do it backwards.
There was that too, yeah.
I could have sworn that there was a way to kill enemies underwater as Knuckles. Am I imagining that?
This kind of area design fucks you over so hard if you don't have the necklace, because you have to stop while you're underwater and spin the camera around to look for the next switch.
The timing on the currents.
This is not a great camera.
The timing on the currents is really, really precise too.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get the
and goddamn this part, I could see your palms sweating here.
Because is the green stuff instant kill or just damage?
No,
it just damages you. Yeah, but
it takes away your rings, and you know what's gonna kill you right after that? The lasers right above you.
Yeah.
But Ted, to answer your question, I don't know if there's a way to damage enemies underwater.
I could have sworn that this is a foggy memory from my childhood that I've dived into an artificial chaos and killed it.
Did you see that? Ted just barely made it out of that tunnel before the water started moving again.
Yeah, and if you get caught, you get sent all the way back to the beginning. They have boxes there for you to catch yourself, but you're not going to hit those.
The timing of that is always going to be super tight.
They have boxes there for you to catch yourself. They have boxes there for you to catch yourself, but the real kick in the pants is that if you catch yourself, it actually just wastes more time because you are going to the beginning of that tunnel no matter what.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to catch yourself because it's not like you can fight against the current.
Yeah, but you want to know what another kick in the pants is? At the very end of Sonic Section.
The goddamn Lost World slide.
Water slide.
If you don't go over it, you die, which is bullshit level design.
When you get there, you assume you're supposed to just slide down, but no. That slides you into a bottomless pit. You have to jump over the water slide and then slide down the other side of the water. No, that was just no.
That was because this section's fun to play, like up until that.
This
point.
Right here.
Yeah, fuck that. I have to imagine that was like a glitch or whatever. Like Sonic was intended to be dropped to the top of that slider or whatever, because it makes no sense otherwise. Right?
I do like the Lost World callbacks.
They're playing the same music too, aren't they?
No. This is a different music.
Okay. It's the same. It's a similar kind of sound, though.
What a pointless section for Sonic to have. He has the shortest section of this level.
It's fun to play at the very least, but it is
for 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's less than a minute long, so yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'm pretty sure the individual bits and pieces of the Sonic vs. Dark Gaia boss fight in Sonic Unleashed were actually longer.
Maybe. I would not be terribly surprised.